Hey guys, it's Troy, and you know, every so often I actually get to cross a pen off my wish list and add something to my list of favorite pens. And I'm doing that here today on this video. I have here in my hand a pen that I have had on my wish list literally for quite a while. And I am going to use it to cross it off my list. The Pilot Myu. MYU 701 has been on my wish list, and I was able to get one of these a little while ago. You know, I am not a fan of pocket pens. I'm also not a big fan of Japanese pens in general. There are some that I like, don't get me wrong. I just tend to like or prefer Western pens more so than Oriental manufactured pens. But this is one that I saw that really intrigued me. It was on my wish list because I really like the style of it. And as such, I figured I wanted to get it. So, went ahead and when I saw this, I said, gotta have it. The Pilot Myu. This was manufactured in the 1970s, and you can still get some Myus that are manufactured a little more modern than that, but as they were first made, this one in 1974, I just absolutely fell in love with the design of it. It is a pocket pen. I'm not a big fan of pocket pens. I've got some vintage pocket pens. As a matter of fact, one of you had asked me about pocket pens, and I shared that in my last video. As a matter of fact, I'm going to try to put a clip up right here, and I included this pen in that video, and I compared it to some of the other pens. So if I can find that footage, I'll go ahead and roll that here so that you can see it and compare. One of the cool things about this particular pen, though, it's a little thinner than I like. It's not as big as I prefer. It's designed a little differently, though, and it's desirable. It's collectible. This is a collector's item, and I've heard from some of you who follow my Instagram feed that this was actually one of your grail pens. I balked at buying this because of the price tag. These are going right now in the 300s. Yeah, $300 US and up from everything that I've seen every time, and in the stainless steel. Some of the newer ones have some nice stripes and seem to be done in different materials, but this is a stainless steel. And it's, you know, on the outside, it looks nothing spectacular, nothing special. But it is rather stylish, I think. And you've got the finial here in a nice serviceable clip, because that finial kind of becomes that clip as you go down. It's manufactured by Pilot, and I'll show you some close-up pictures of some of the markings that are on this particular pen. But the majority of the length of this pen is the cap. As you pull it out, one of the things you're going to notice is that it's got a nice long section to it. Notice also, however, there is no separate nib from the section. The section in the nib are one. It is one long piece. Yes, you still have a feed, as you can see molded in there, but this is actually one continuous piece. That is what intrigued me about this particular pen, and I said I've got to have one. So it is a cartridge converter pen. When I got it, this is all it was. It was just the pen. There was no cartridge. There was no converter. It does take standard Pilot cartridges. This is just a squeeze converter that I had laying around that we had taken off from a Pilot Metropolitan. And it just takes the normal standard, like the M70, the M40s, and this one here is their squeeze converter. And it is a cartridge converter pen. So, this is not the first time, however, a pen like this had been made that was contiguous like this. Parker had done this in 1970. They came out with a T1, and that pen was only produced about a year. There were some manufacturing problems. There were some advantages over that pen in that you could adjust the nib with just a set screw, so it would be fine or a medium, depending upon how you adjusted that screw to it. But they had some problems with its manufacture, and they hadn't really perfected it. It is highly collectible because they were only put out for about a year, 1970 to 1971. This particular pen, this was manufactured in 1974. At least the one that I have in my hand. It is a medium nib, and one of the things that they did is, if you look here, there's actually a stamp, and I'll show you a close-up of it, that tells me it was manufactured in 74 and has a medium nib. So, how do I like it? Well, it became one of my favorite pens the day that I got it, just because of how it writes. I am not going to be able to write with this thing unposted. It's a little small and it's cramped. I cannot stand to write with something that small. But once you post it, you can see that that cap comes the majority of the way down on that barrel, and you have very little room until that section joint meets that barrel, and that actually makes for a good solid length for me to use to write with. This nib, I was able to get a medium nib rather than a fine nib. There were several that are out there, and I managed to snag this one in a medium. And it was available from a U.S. seller, and I believe in Montana, rather than having to get it from out of the country, since I do sit here in the United States. So I went ahead and snatched that up. The moment I filled it, and I put in some of this Pilot Iroshizuku Asagao grade ink, a nice blue ink put out by Pilot Iroshizuku. I said this is going to be one of my new favorites. I like how it feels in the hand. A little more slender than I like, but I still like the way it feels. Even though this is a really slick, a very smooth, long section here, some people may not like that smoothness. It doesn't bother me though. I'm that way. I take a pen how it is and I use it how it is without complaining about it. And just the design. Now, that first time I ever saw that design of the section also being the nib integrated into one, I said, that is wicked cool. Gotta see how it is, and I gotta have one. So, here it be. I've been using this pen a lot, so I hope that when I go to ink or put nib to paper and write with some ink, I'm hoping it actually writes. I tried it earlier today. It wrote okay. I'm just hoping it still has ink and I don't run out in the middle of writing. You know, it's been around a while. It's got a few scuffs on it. You know, it's stainless steel, and I can see, you know, when I look up close, it's got some good scuffs on it, but it's still physically not better condition than aesthetically, maybe, but you got to really look for them. So, let me give you a few statistics about the pen. You can still find these out there. I mean, they are for sale. You've got to be patient to be able to get a good deal on them, and you got to be willing to pay the price for them. And if you want to look at and compare to some of the modern Myus, M-Y-U, no, not necessarily the Greek letter mu, but the Myu 701. You can still find these. So here's my double pen pouch that I carry, and I always have a giveaway pen in there, and that's how deep that fits inside the pouch here. Now, if there's one thing that's kind of a downside to this pen, if you can call it one, is that, number one, you're never going to be able to swap out that nib. Okay, so if you don't like the nib it comes with, let's say if you've got a medium and you wanted a fine, or you got a fine and you wanted a medium, there is no swapping out that nib without buying a whole new pen. And of course, since these were only manufactured between 1971 and approximately 1980, you're going to have fun finding them, and the price is going to be a whole lot more than it would have been back in the day. The other thing is, if you damage that nib, let's say if I drop it and it goes down, and like happens from time to time that people would damage a nib, there's no really sending this, or let's say replacing the nib, where you just throw away the old one or just get another one and swap it out like a Yovo number 5 or a number 6. It's not going to happen since this is entirely one piece. You may be able to try to send it to a nib smith, but keep in mind this is all stainless steel, so it's a very rigid steel. So you're not really going to have a whole lot of fortune probably in getting that nib repaired. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's going to be a little more difficult. Let me throw you some statistics up, and then we'll put nib to paper, and you can see how this baby performs. Show you how one of my new favorite pens actually writes. Like I said, I've been using this a lot, been carrying it a lot, been using it a lot, been writing letters with it. So I am really going to enjoy showing you how this particular pen writes. So this is a Pilot Myu 701. It's supposed to be a pocket pen. And quite honestly, when I go to put it into a pen sleeve or a pen holder, it actually does fit way down inside it. So it is noticeably smaller than other pens that I would be carrying. But still, when you pull it out and you go ahead and post it and go to use it, you wouldn't know the difference. All right, this one is a medium nib. And I can tell you right now, this is a very smooth writing experience. You would expect this to be a very firm nib because it is stainless steel. Stainless steel all the way down. And sure enough, you can still get, as you press down just a little, and it doesn't take a lot of pressure to get it, you can still actually get some line variation out of it. If you were to decide, but is it any good going reverse? You can get a very fine or an extra fine line out of it. But this just glides across the page. I've been very, very happy with this particular pen. So for those of you who were looking at this particular pen and you were thinking, hey, how does it work? Is this something that I can deal with? This is my Grail pen. Don't hesitate. Really, jump on in. Been happy with it. Now you can see here I just barely touched this pen to the paper, and if you press down just a little bit, you're going to get a more defined line. This is very little pressure here, but it is here I was just letting the pen, just its weight, touch the paper. I am not pressing down at all. I am just letting the weight of the pen sit on the paper. Well, do the same thing with just a tiny little bit of pressure. You can see the difference. So you can get greater ink flow just by a tiny, and I'm not going to go overdo it, but you can get a good thick line out of it by comparison. So, like I said, medium nib, smooth. I love the style. I just absolutely love, it's supposed to be like futuristic and space looking on this particular pen, but I am totally digging that. Look at that angle, look at that arc. This is just a pen that I have, like I said, was on my wish list The moment I saw it, I said, I want one. I've got to have me one of those. And I eventually got it. So I have gotten a couple of gift cards that were given to me for Father's Day and for my birthday. So I was able to take three gift cards for eBay and put them together to go ahead and make a good chunk out of the purchase price of this particular pen. And that's the only reason I jumped at it when I did. So very, very happy. The Pilot Myu 701. You know, a great fan of it. Probably one of the better Pilot pens I've ever used or ever written with. Love the style. Love the way it writes. And I'm going to be enjoying this for many years to come.